environmental.
Not moving, not breathing. No ways.
My side is very distracting. Whatever. Okay, so never mind.
Okay, so Andrew, so time now is 4:08. You may begin.
Okay, good afternoon everyone. Great to see all of you here. I understand all of you here are just fresh from university and just joined our bank as junior compliance officers. Okay, so anyway, glad to be covering this topic with you, suspicious transaction reporting. Okay, so just a brief overview of myself. Okay, basically I've been working in the bank for 4 years. Okay, 2 years I was working as a deposit product manager, and then I joined the business compliance, and I did AML, and so I'm here right now to share with you a little bit on suspicious transaction reporting. Okay, so before we start, I would like you to take a bit of assessment and see how much you know about suspicious transaction reporting. Okay, STRs basically. Okay. So let's take a minute, okay, try to complete it. Okay, there's 2 columns there. Complete the column on the left, which is before the presentation. And subsequently, you can do the next one. And at the back, there's a question on the 6th. The one is just an evaluation. The one just leave it at the end of the presentation. Okay, one is done. Okay, I think 1 minute is almost up. Okay, so I'm going to proceed. Okay. So what are the learning outcomes that you should be achieving through this short presentation? Okay, firstly, you'll be able to understand the value of filing STRs. Okay, you should be appreciative of why this particular job we do, and of course, to be able to identify at least 5 indicators of suspicious transaction. And of course, when you discuss with your colleagues, your business units, you should be able to highlight some recent development, case studies, or STR filing. Okay, so this entire presentation will be covered in 5 slides. Okay, the 5 slides will be basically the definition, what is STR all about, okay? And of course, the value of filing STR, we'll run through that. And of course, we will look into indicators of suspicious transaction. Okay, we will look not just into money laundering, we will also look into some of the characteristics of transactions due to terrorist financing. And then we will touch a little bit, since you are new compliance officers, okay, we will touch a little bit on how we file STRs in the bank. And then after that, I will share a little bit on news, okay, and a little bit of updates on STR that has been in the media recently. Okay, so what is STR? Okay, I actually took this definition directly from the STRO office, okay, which actually is part of CAD, okay, the Commercial Affairs Department, and is part of the Singapore Police Force. So an STR is basically made when someone knows or has reason to suspect a property is directly or indirectly connected to a criminal conduct. Okay, so through his business or through his employment, okay, when a person detects such activity, he should file an STR. So in short, it's basically just a disclosure of information, and the information could be any information you heard from, adverse news, it could be from the media, and of course also through reviewing of transactions. Okay, so if the transaction is shows certain patterns, which I will touch a little bit later. Okay, and then the person is obligated to file an STR. So just a quick one. Okay, so what do you think? What's the difference between filing a police report and filing an STR? Maybe one of you would like to give a shot.
One is to the police, the other is to CAD.
Oh, okay, that's good. Okay, but CAD is also part of police report. Okay, so anyway, the difference is that police report, right, okay, is usually made, it's actually an official report made to the police, okay, when a person actually is a victim of a crime, okay, a person knows that a crime has happened, a person is missing, okay, let's say for example, or you lose some property, you found some property, basically all those things, those that basically a crime has been disclosed and the police upon knowing a police report, will actually act on it. Okay, but STR or suspicious transaction report, basically it's just a provision of information on grounds that you suspect something unusual has happened or some suspicious transaction. So the police may or may not actually act on it, depending on how they collate the case up. Okay, so that is the main difference. Now, of course, STR, various acts have talked about it. One of the main ones is, of course, for the bank, since this is for retail banking, is MAS 626. MAS 626 and its guidelines, paragraph 14, it talks a little bit on STR filing, okay, and an obligation to it. Okay, and maybe just to highlight, STRs basically are usually if the bank officer has already identified a suspicious transaction, you should report to the STRO in CAD within 15 business days. Okay, and also even STRs that are filed from the front line, okay, the business units or the business compliance to the regulatory compliance unit that you all are going to be in, okay, usually all those STRs that you file, some of them may be kind of rubbish and things like that, but you still have to document it, okay, as stated under 14.6. So the value of filing STRs. Okay, so STR we know is a very important source of information. Okay, with STRs, actually the police has been able to crack many cases and also identify many of these illicit activities going on. So early detection keeps Singapore safe, right? It's the usual stuff. Okay, so under CDSA, Singapore has also MOUs. Okay, has quite a number of MOUs with various foreign countries. So we share information. Okay, we based on reciprocity, okay, and of course confidentiality. We share information, and this helps us to control cross-border crimes and other things. So to highlight a point, failure to file an STR is a criminal offence according to Section 39 of CDSA. So, okay, what are the indicators of suspicious transaction? Okay, so this list is not exhaustive. Okay, so of course the first one is large cash transactions. Okay, large cash transaction is very clear because most of these illicit activities, for example, like selling of drugs, you sell a straw of heroin, probably costs about, I don't know, I never take heroin, but probably about $18 to $20 a straw. Okay, so many of these are actually in small denomination notes. So when the trafficker or the person who peddlers it put it together, he will have to kind of give it legitimacy to it. So we try to assimilate into the banking system. So that is one. Uneconomical fund transfers, okay, to and from foreign jurisdictions. Okay, so usually if you find that a account has been transferring money all over the world, okay, through various accounts, then you know that they will incur charges, and especially if the person itself doesn't have any business activities in another country or doesn't reside there, then it should be a red flag to us. Large and rapid movement of funds, okay, as you know, money laundering involves 3 stages. So you have placement, you have layering, and you have integration. So the large movement of and rapid transfer of funds will be under the layering process. So you're trying to basically escape detection, okay, so that the audit trail is not clear and things like that. And of course, the last one is quite clear. Unrealistic wealth compared to customer profile. So if let's say a customer is unemployed, is a student, is a housewife, but then a huge sum of money comes in the account, especially if the account is dormant, then you should be very concerned because that would mean anything. It could be someone who has been investigated for a crime, decide to park money into this particular customer. And so you have to investigate further. Okay, what about some of these examples of suspicious transactions due to terrorist financing? This same as some will be slightly different, involve small amounts. Okay, so you have things like taking out small bank loans. Okay, small bank loans, maxing out credit cards just before they go to Syria, Iraq, and of course opening bank accounts where they surrender the debit cards or the credit cards to foreigners, and foreigners start withdrawing money from other countries. Okay, so these are some of the possible transactions relating to terrorist financing. So for all of you, okay, you all probably, since you're in the RC, right, the regulatory compliance unit, you all will probably be doing the external filing of STR, okay, but there's an internal filing which basically the business compliance unit and also the business units will be filing to you. So they Okay, it's important that you all teach them to submit accurate documents, okay, provide the relevant or an adequate amount of documents for you to file. Okay, so in this bank, of course, we are more high tech, okay, so you don't file by writing, okay, not anymore. So we use the STRO, okay, which is basically the STR online lodging systems. Okay. Okay, just to conclude, okay, I would like to share a little bit on recent news. Okay, in fact, in September 2016, okay, these two news articles came out. Okay, one of them is about the tax amnesty cases. So MAS actually has clarified to the banks that the filing of STRs for tax amnesty cases, if you know about it, is required, okay, because of FATF, and also because we subscribe to that. And basically, that does not mean that there will be criminal investigation on a customer if you file an STR fund. Okay, so that's one thing. But if let's say there's some investigation and there is a, the customer has contravened some of Singapore law, then obviously investigation may take place. Okay, and STRs has been here for a while, but since 2015 compared to 2012, there's a doubling of it. So from 17,000 plus becomes 30,000, over 30,000 in fact. Okay, STRs have been filed, and banks contribute about 1/3 of it, so 10,000 of it. Okay, so we play a great role in filing STR and giving information to the police. Okay, so those like casinos clock in about 7K and remittance also about 7K. Okay, so if let's say you have more, you want to read out a little bit more, okay, you can actually look into MAS 626, okay, paragraph 14, and of course the guidelines too, and CDSA section 39 if you're interested, and this one, the Terrorist Suppression of Financing Act, TISOFA 8 and 10, and of course maybe just a short highlight will be this particular case. Okay, public prosecutor versus Rahmat. Okay, actually he was also one of these person who was employed as a transaction manager of an online portal, received remittance in, and he was instructed to send this money to various countries. Of course, he was prosecuted because he knew that these funds were probably from criminal proceeds. Okay, so that's it. So just Q&A. Anyone has any?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Being a new compliance officer in our bank, I'd like
Yes.
to know that in terms of transaction monitoring,
Yes.
do our bank have any indicators to measure whenever a money launderer splits up a large cash transaction into perhaps 2 or 3 smaller transactions,
Sure.
such that these smaller transactions can escape our systems, flagging system?
Absolutely. I mean, that's what normally money launderers do. Okay, so they would probably, some of them even work in the bank before, and they have some idea roughly what are the threshold that is set. Okay, so some of them will say, okay, 10,000. I mean, it depends on the system and how it's set in the bank. So I say, oh, 10,000. Okay, then I try to, start to what they call smurfing. They put in money in at a lower, maybe 9,000, and they start depositing at 9,000. So usually the banking system that we have, okay, is quite robust, I think. Okay, we don't normally, not only do we look just at the threshold, we look at the frequency. Okay, we look at the frequency of transaction. So if let's say someone who is trying to put in $100,000, okay, at 9,000 each time, okay, the frequency and also how it's done, okay, the way it's done through cash deposit machine and all these things, some of them will end up reflect up in our system, and then we will investigate further.
Just wondering if you have any other cases to do with any recent cases on STRs?
There's a lot of cases that's been filed in the bank. Okay, but maybe if we're talking about experience, I would think that one of the more interesting experience that I ever had at filing an STR was that there was usually we don't expect STR to be filed on CDA accounts. Okay, so I was a product manager in the deposit account, so I deal with CDAs. CDAs are child development accounts which can only be paid to approved institution, basically the child cares, the medical institutions, the dental institutions. So what happened was that in this case, I think in 2015, early 2015, actually I went up and I wanted to file. I mean, I thought it was very strange. It's usually a routine look at a CDA account, And I realized that actually there was a lot of transaction going on with the whole institution. So what happened was that I decided I found anyway the STR, because I was from business compliance, right? So the STRO actually filed up to CB, and subsequently end of the year, it came out the news. I think it's Sweetland childcare or something like that. Okay, anyway, the police found that they have been, doing it illegally, and also suspended their approved persons who are dealing with this. So yeah, that was actually the one and only CDA case I ever had. Usually, we don't expect CDA to be used for this kind of criminal activities.
Okay, one more minute to wrap up.
Okay, so one more minute left. So basically, all you need to do is you have existing questionnaire, right? So the second column on the right, you just do it. Okay, if you think that there's a need to change the answer after this presentation, then just feel free to do so. At the back, there's a section on evaluation of the presentation. Just give me your honest feedback on whether whether which is good and which is bad. Just let me know. Okay. Thanks very much.
Okay, so round of applause for Andrew. Okay, very good presentation by Andrew, well prepared. Okay, very well delivered as well. Okay, very calm, steady, right? Okay. Now, interesting. How come he's going last? I thought usually it would be guys first, then ladies.
No, this one we
ladies
draw lots.
first.
No, we do lots. So it's a fair
You can
system.
hear the conversation will be very